Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the chilling, honestly brutal realities of how life begins for some of Earth's most fascinating and unsettling creatures. We usually picture delicate nurseries, gentle care, and a peaceful entry into the world, right? It's a very comforting narrative. But nature has a much darker, far more intense blueprint for survival. We're going to look at the cold, hard biological facts derived directly from our source material to understand exactly what it takes to survive the very first moments of existence.
So the big question we've got to ask ourselves is this: is birth really a gentle miracle, or is it a ruthless survival of the fittest battleground? We kind of romanticize the concept of gestation, viewing the womb or the egg as this perfect, safe sanctuary. But what happens when the fight for your literal life starts long before you even take your first breath, or in our case today, your first swim or hop? We have to completely rethink our assumptions about safety and creation.
Section 1. Nature's darkest nurseries, where survival begins before birth.
Section 2. The sand tiger battlefield, a womb turned coliseum. We're stripping away those romanticized views right now to look at the deeply, deeply disturbing biology of the sand tiger shark. This apex predator's ferocity isn't something it learns after it's born. It is fundamentally forged right there in the womb. Nature has this unimaginably ruthless mechanism to ensure only the absolute strongest survive. It's called intrauterine cannibalism, also known as embryophagy. The mother's womb is literally a gladiator pit. Nature designed this process with one unforgiving purpose: quality over quantity. The ocean is a tough neighborhood, and the sand tiger shark evolved to make sure its offspring are battle-tested before they even arrive.
Section 3. Devoured in the womb. The first hunt.
So, this intramaternal struggle for survival, it kicks off the exact second the very first, largest embryo hatches from its egg capsule. Inside the darkness of the mother, there is zero time for peace. There's only an immediate, driving instinct to hunt. Get this, the mother shark actually has 2 uteri, and it's a terrifying race as multiple embryos start developing in both. The pup that grows the fastest and hatches first immediately turns on the others. It actively hunts its own brothers and sisters. And once the competition is eliminated, the mother keeps producing unfertilized eggs, which the surviving pup just gorges on to pack on size and armor. It's a phenomenal, albeit horrifying, energy transfer system.
Out of the dozens, literally dozens, of embryos that initially formed, only a haunting maximum of 2 fully formed, heavily armored pups will ever see the ocean. Just one from each uterus. They emerge into the world at an astonishing 3 feet long. That is incredibly massive for a newborn. And they come out with a full set of teeth and a confirmed kill count. I mean, they are born as absolute survivors.
Our sources use a phrase that hits the nail right on the head: a cradle of cannibalism. And that is a completely literal, scientifically accurate description. It totally sounds like a tagline for a horror movie, right? But this dark nursery forges a truly formidable survivor before it takes a single swim.
Section 4. The living amphibian incubator, the Suriname toad's bizarre burden.
Now let's pivot from the violent oceans to something deeply eerie, like almost trypophobia-inducing. We're talking about the reproductive cycle of the Suriname toad. They use a strategy of extreme passive body modification known as dermal incubation. So instead of an active battlefield like the shark, this is a bizarre, almost parasitic-like maternal sacrifice, where the mother becomes a living, breathing honeycomb. Instead of laying eggs in a hidden little pool of water like most amphibians, the Suriname toad actually turns her own flesh into the nest.
Here's how this goes down. During their really complex acrobatic aquatic mating dance, the fertilized eggs are guided directly onto the female's back, and then her skin literally reacts. It swells up, forming these individual little pockets that completely swallow and encase the eggs. For months, she just swims around looking like a completely normal, flat, leaf-like toad, while carrying a hidden, squirming nursery directly beneath the surface of her skin.
Section 5. Eruption from the skin, the final phase of dermal gestation.
After months of gestating inside this living nest, the dark biological reality of this toad reaches its deeply unsettling climax. The offspring bypass the tadpole stage completely, developing into miniature adults while trapped inside their mother's back. And eventually, well, they run out of room. In a true display of body horror, up to 100 miniature, fully independent toadlets will physically push and erupt through the mother's ragged skin to enter the world. Just picture that for a second. The surface of her back slowly rippling, then breaking open as dozens of tiny heads and arms push their way out of these holes. They pop out one by one, leaving her back looking like a tattered, empty honeycomb. It's an incredibly taxing physical burden, but it ensures those 100 toadlets enter the water fully formed and ready to survive.
Section 6. Biological versus artificial birth, the sterile conception of code.
Having just witnessed the blood-soaked, super messy realities of biological birth, it's absolutely fascinating to look at how nature solves the problem of creation compared to how we are engineering the next phase of intelligence. On one hand, we have the visceral, bloody crucible of the sand tiger shark and that bizarre bodily sacrifice of the Suriname toad. But contrast that with our artificial creations. In the engineered birth of artificial minds in pristine labs, there is a completely different paradigm. There's no blood, there's no pain, and no physical struggle whatsoever. There is only pristine, glowing code.
Artificial intelligence completely bypasses the brutal biological crucible. It emerges without that visceral fight for survival that totally defines organic life. When we build an AI, we hand it everything it needs. It doesn't have to cannibalize competing programs to secure server space the way that shark embryo does for yolk, right? It doesn't physically deform its creator to enter the world. It is a genesis conceived in sterile environments, built purely on logic, data, and code, and fundamentally lacking the chaotic friction of evolutionary biology.
But here's the thing. As we engineer these flawless digital creations, we distance ourselves entirely from the chaotic, violent, and honestly perfect machinery of the natural world we just explored. Our sources suggest there's a real danger here, a danger in becoming so enamored with the sterility of our digital creations that we forget the messy, brutal realities that shaped organic intelligence over millions of years. So, I want to leave you with this haunting thought to ponder today. Could humanity's sterile artificial creations ever truly replicate the dark, ruthless perfection of nature's biological designs? When a system like AI is born without struggle, without having to fight its siblings in the dark, or literally burst from the skin of its creator, does it miss out on a fundamental component of what makes life so resilient? The world around us, and the world we're actively building, is complex. It's sometimes terrifying, but it is always profoundly fascinating. Keep questioning everything, and I'll catch you next time.